So, Star Wars Jedi Survivor has been out for more than a week now, and after clocking in more than 24 hours, I decided that it is finally time to share my opinion of it with all of you. Star Wars Jedi Survivor continues the story of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, in which we first met Cal Kestis. The game continues the story of this character and takes place about 5 years later. A reminder: in Fallen Order, Cal became a full-fledged Jedi Knight and made an important decision that could have affected the fate of an entire galaxy. Now, as one of the last Jedi, Cal continues his crusade against the Empire but stumbles upon something he did not expect: hope for a better future in a form of forgotten world. The question is whether he will manage to reach that world without losing himself in the process. How does Star Wars Jedi Survivor story compare to other Star Wars media? Generally speaking, Star Wars media varies in quality. We have things like the new trilogy that was written pretty badly. We have the prequel trilogy that, while was criticized at first, now is finally being appreciated. We have, of course, the original trilogy that started it all, and we have everything that Dave Filoni created that is basically almost perfect. When it comes to Star Wars Jedi Survivor story, I gotta say that it is a really nice surprise. Not only does it refer to the period of so-called High Republic, which we have not yet had the opportunity to see on screen, but it revolves around interesting, well-drawn characters, contains unexpected plot twists, and moments that fans of the previous installment of the series have been waiting for. In Jedi Survivor, we see return not only of Cal Kestis, but also of Grease, Seer, Marin, and of course BD1, which I think is my favorite. We also see some new characters like Bota Kuna, Dagan Geran, and Rayvis. Of course, I don't want to say anything more about them, so as not to spoil anything for you. Okay, but does the story have any weak points? For me, there is at least one. I see as that weak point the appearance of Darth Vader. It seems that he was only added to the game for the sake of fighting him, and I didn't really feel like he was needed in it at all. Now that we have the story of the Star Wars Jedi Survivor covered, let's move to the gameplay. Is it any different than gameplay in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order? Jedi Survivor still revolves heavily around jumping from planet to planet and fighting many different types of enemies and overcoming environmental obstacles and solving puzzles, but it's not the same as Jedi Fallen Order. Let's start with combat mechanics. In Star Wars Jedi Survivor, we have 5 different combat stances to choose from. The first stance that we can use in the game right off the bat is single-bladed stance that offers balanced approach to combat. That being said, my go-to were dual-wield and double-bladed stances. Dual-wield was best at reflecting blaster shots and dodging attacks quickly when it was needed. Double-bladed stance offered in turn great crowd control, and it was really fun to use against weak B1 battle droids. Jedi Survivor offers also high-risk, high-reward crossguard stance and a blaster stance. Crossguard stance is inspired by Kylo Ren's fighting style and includes using hilted lightsaber just like him. In blaster stance, Kyle uses both lightsaber and a blaster. It offers larger range and is interesting from story standpoint, but it was simply not for me, so I didn't really use it. In the game, we can choose 2 combat stances that we can switch between during combat. No matter which one we choose, the combat is really satisfying and sometimes challenging. Of course, the level of the challenge depends on set game difficulty. For me, Jedi Knight difficulty is a great balance between difficulty of bosses and lesser opponents. But players wanting even bigger challenge can also play the game on Jedi Master or Jedi Grandmaster difficulties. A big part of Jedi Survivor is solving puzzles and overcoming environmental obstacles. For some players wanting more combat, that aspect may seem as a filler, but for me, puzzles included in Survivor were pretty fun. What's important, developers made sure that they wouldn't be exactly the same as in Fallen Order, so they implemented a lot of new mechanics. In time, Cal Kestis can jump even further and even start to cross laser barriers. Another good news is that Cal wasn't nerfed in Survivor. Almost everything that he learned in Fallen Order is still there. One minor change is that Cal can't use Force Slow on single enemies anymore. Instead, we have special ability that slows all enemies around Cal at the same time. I also appreciate the fact that there is much less backtracking in Survivor than in Fallen Order. That is mainly because the newer game has fast travel. Shortcuts can also be unlocked way more often. That being said, dying from a fall after dealing with more than 90% of series of obstacles, only to respawn at its beginning, can still be pretty frustrating. When it comes to controls, keyboard and mouse seem in this game like an afterthought. Playing with them is highly uncomfortable. Even though I played on PC, I did it almost exclusively with Xbox controller. All in all, gameplay in Star Wars Jedi Survivor is really great. It offered me the most fun I had in any game in years. But where all that gameplay in Survivor takes place? In this regard, Survivor also differs a little bit from Fallen Order. Probably the most time in the game we spent on planet Kobo, that is kind of an open world. While progressing the story, we come back to it from time to time to explore more of it. During gameplay, we also visit several another planets that are built in much more linear way, similar to planets in Fallen Order. All of that is a good thing. The world of the game doesn't feel either overwhelming or too empty or just like a set of corridors. Of course, we are encouraged to stray from main story from time to time. While exploring, we can find valuable currencies that we can exchange at various vendors for customization options for Cal, his lightsaber and BD-1. We can also find side characters, talking to which upgrades Pylon's Saloon and unlocks, for example, a mini-game of holotactics. When it comes to before-mentioned customization, Survivor offers much broader options than Fallen Order. We can change Cal's hairstyles and his clothing. What's more, we can change parts of his lightsaber and BD-1s. We can even decide what materials they are made of and what color they will have. Cal, his lightsaber and BD-1 can look just as we want them to. Okay, let's now focus on the aesthetic aspects of the game. Jedi Survivor truly feels like a Star Wars game. Its music, sound effects and voice acting are on the highest level. When it comes to music, it is reminiscent of other Star Wars media. Visuals of the game also deliver a pleasant experience. Every planet is filled with a lot of details and has a lot of breathtaking views. I gotta also appreciate design of the enemies in the game. There's not too much of different types of enemies, but at least every single one of them is in a way unique. Star Wars Jedi Survivor also offers a lot of the humor the Star Wars universe is known for. I loved to wait a little bit before I destroyed B-1 battle droids just to hear another funny thing they had to say. They are one of the best additions to the series.
I got it so easy. Guard the cliff, crush the locals, look at the scenery. Nobody's getting past me, not without a blaster hole in him. I wonder if I'll get promoted for doing such a good job. Then I'll get the other droids to guard the cliff. Oh, but then I won't see the scenery. Now that's a dilemma.
Dilemma solved.
Of course, I also have to talk a little bit about the elephant in the room, which is the game's performance. Many players bash Jedi Survivor in this regard. What was my experience when it comes to this matter? Sadly, Star Wars Jedi Survivor is very poorly optimized. Although my PC has NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3070 Ti GPU and Intel Core i5-12600K CPU, which are both overclocked, I could only play the game with high graphics settings on 1440p monitor with AMD FSR turned on and ray tracing turned off. Still, I barely managed to hit 60 FPS. There were even some areas in the game where FPS number couldn't go above 40. FPS drops were happening constantly. It also needs to be said that Jedi Survivor is one of those games that performs significantly worse on GPUs with 8GB of VRAM than on GPUs with 12GB of VRAM. On GPUs with less VRAM, textures load way slower and game is more blurry. During my gameplay, I also experienced several bugs and game crashes. Seems like developers from Respawn Entertainment have a lot of work ahead of them. But I have to admit that for me, releasing a game that costs $70 in that state is highly unacceptable. In conclusion, in my opinion, Star Wars Jedi Survivor is one of the best Star Wars games that have ever come to existence. Its gameplay, visuals, music, customization and story are simply stunning. However, it's hard to ignore the fact that its performance on PCs is really poor. I received the game for free, but if I had to do it, would I pay for the game $70 right now? Probably not. I would rather wait till all the game's problems and bugs are fixed, until it is on some sort of sale. So that's it, that was my review of Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I hope you really liked it. Let me know down in the comments below if you already played the game, and if yes, do you share any of my opinions?